What's happening, everybody? Welcome to episode 24 of the Big Shred Podcast. I am John Matos. Thanks for hanging out with us on a Friday evening. I know we don't normally do the Friday streams. Shit's been fucking crazy since we've been tracking the record, and so my Wednesday streams have been all fucked up. I've been trying to stick with the Saturday streams. Tomorrow's obviously 4th of July, so I wanted to do something on Friday and do a super sick, super fucking special episode for this Friday. So we've got Trevor from the Black Dahlia murder is going to be hanging out with us tonight. Super stoked. So yeah, like I said, we've been working on the record. We got drums done for the new Abiotic. We are simultaneously doing guitars, vocals, and bass because fucking Corona and what better way to do it, right? So we've got vocals happening in California, we've got bass and guitar, or bass happening here in Massachusetts, a lot of the guitars happening in Florida, and then obviously me doing some of that stuff up here too. So it's been quite an experience, but hopefully you've been following us on the social medias and have been able to catch some of the clips of the tracking that we've been putting out. Super stoked. So for all you Big Shred podcast listeners that get all of the insider info, we should be turning the record in at the end of the month. So that's the goal, and then a release date will be soon to follow. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and bring on our guest for this evening, Trevor of the Black Dahlia murder. Trevor, what is happening, dude?
Yo, what is up, John? How you doing, buddy?
Doing well, man. Thanks again so much for coming on. Really appreciate it, and just can't thank you enough for coming on here and indulging me in my fandom, as well as so many others that I know that are just fucking super stoked, obviously, on the new record, on the band, and have been probably for either as long as I have or longer. Like it's crazy to think, you guys are almost 20 years in and you're like 9 albums in. Like what does that feel like for you, dude?
It's crazy, man. Honestly, I never saw it going this far. I wanted it to, but yeah, man, it's just, I wanted to make one record.
Yeah.
I wanted to make one album, hold it in my filthy little hands and be like, look, like I made a fucking CD, check it out. And this is obviously, spiraled out of control since all of that, and it's been an amazing ride, dude. I feel very fortunate to still be relevant and to still be making music that people care about this far in. And yeah, next year it'll be 20 years, man. It's fucking wild.
It's amazing, man. And so how do you think like 15-year-old Trevor would feel in looking at how far you've come?
I think I'd be very proud, because at that age I was like writing death metal lyrics and hiding them from my parents and like making like fake record layouts for like my fictional band Necrolust, and like I wanted to do all the things that being in a band brought. And also, I was really inspired to get out and tour by Henry Rollins' Get in the Van book, the book about his time in Black Flag.
Yeah.
So that was kind of a push back then to like once I started being in my own bands to really grab a hold of the DIY aspect of things. And it was all fun, but definitely at 15, it was just a dream. And yeah, it's amazing to be here and amazing to, I wouldn't call the band my job. I think that would be like a real disservice, you know what I mean? Basically my entire dream come true, and I'm just fortunate to just be where I am. And, I think a lot of it is just making the right decisions. I don't think that we are at any point the most original band around, or, I think a lot of it is just the right decisions at the right time. And, Brian and I have been in this band since day one, and he's kind of like the number cruncher guy and kind of like the father figure of the band. Right. He's the guy, like, when the shit hits the fan, that we all turn to and go, what do we do?
Yep.
And I've designated to be like the voice of the band, right. Like I was more personable. So, I've been doing taking the brunt of this interview thing for about 20 years now,
Yeah, that's awesome. I definitely know how Brian feels in being that, like, John, what the fuck do we do? Like, what's the answer? What happened? And it's just like, fuck, I don't know. um,
It's funny because he doesn't have the other brain though. Like he doesn't want to do interviews. Like
yeah.
whenever he's doing an interview, it's like he's getting interrogated by the police. Like
Oh no.
he thinks that anybody who's asking him questions is trying to like get him to say something fucked up
Oh jeez.
in order to like make some kind of like tabloid headline. Like I don't
Yeah.
know what he's thinking.
Oh
He's
no.
really dark. He's really guarded, and like you'll see interviews with him, like the very rare ones that occur. He's very like tight-lipped, you know. But
Yeah, I did notice that. I saw that you guys had done some stuff with Metal Blade, and they were asking some like really kind of just like very specific questions, just like, you know, this band or like this or that, and like kind of all sorts of things. And I was like, huh, I actually haven't seen too many interviews with him now that I actually think about it. And then, like, yeah, he was a little tight-lipped, but it was nice to see him at least get a little bit loose. Hopefully, I don't know if Vince shot that one, but hopefully Vince loosened him up a little bit.
it was actually it was in Europe that we shot that one.
Oh,
But
nice. Okay.
we shot it with Eurobart from Metal Blade. He's like the Euro. Okay.
That's awesome. So yeah, man. I mean, definitely just want to start this off by saying, you know, what a huge influence you've been on, you know, my band personally. So, you know, Abiotic, and I can say confidently, like, dude, countless of other bands would not be a band without you guys. So, you know, I hope that you and the rest of the band know that, and, you know, can kind of feel that from the young up and comers that really, you know, look up to you guys now, as, you know, as I'm sure you guys had your bands that you were kind of trying to even, you know, career wise kind of emulate, like, you know, now you guys are that band. And, you know, I've been seeing you guys for so long. And one of my favorite things about going to see you guys is that the crowd was always so diverse. Like, you guys were one of the goals that we had, even aside from musically, was like, you know, we want to be like the bridge gappers. Like, how do we do that too? Like, how do we get like the jean jacket fucking old school guys and then the new kind of newer people into metal? How do we bring these people together in a room? And every time I went to see you guys, it was like, okay, well, Black Dahlia, they know how they're doing it somehow. So
You know, and I don't even really know if I know how to explain that. You know, I think in a lot of ways it stemmed from you know, us being called different genres in the media. And you know, like every time we appear online, there's a 10-page genre fight to follow in the comments, you know. And yeah, just like when we came out, we wanted to be called a death metal band, and we wanted to be seen as like, you know, your average death metal band. But you know, people took one look at us with short hair and me with my glasses and stuff, and just had different ideas for us, you know. So we started out just kind of with a sore thumb, kind of, you know, I don't know, a sore thumb appeal, I guess, to people. You know, I think that people looked at our band and saw a bunch of geeks, and they thought, fuck, man, if this guy can do it, like, so can we, you know? So I think that we like empowered a lot of people to dip their hands in music, you know, and try different things. And you know, we're still trying to win over the quote unquote, you know, long hair conglomerate with leather jackets and patches and stuff like that, you know, the real elitist kind of dudes. And I think that we've been chipping away at those guys over time. You know, I think as we've gotten more talent behind the band, we've been slowly kind of wearing them down, you know. But I definitely agree about the melting pot, dude. When I look in our crowd, I see every kind of person from the underground. You know, I see punks, I see hardcore kids, I see, you know, and I used to be like so uptight about what people called us, you know. And now I don't really care, dude. Like, I don't care if they think we're deathcore. I don't care if they think we're metalcore or like all this other stuff, you know. Like, as long as they like it, dude, you know, I'm thankful. Like, what business do I have of, like, you know, being a bitch about it? You know?
You can just call yourself like the most not of whatever genre. So like, you guys are the most not deathcore band. You guys are the most not metalcore band.
Yeah, you know, I don't know, dude. And you know, we were just very lucky to kind of be lumped in with the rise of both of those things, like in the media. You know, when we first came out, we were lumped with As the Lay Dying and Unearthed. And, you know, we were in the magazines next to them. and Kill Switch and shit. And then deathcore started popping off. And, there was enough similarities, I think, with like the vocals and stuff like that, where we got lumped into that. And, honestly, I'm thankful for all of it. I think that it brought us fans from all different walks, like we were talking about. And, I don't really care how they got here, as long as people like the band and, it's good enough for me, dude.
Yeah, agreed. And with your long spanning career and how many records you have come out, like, I'm sure you see it as well, where there are so many bands that are just like, oh, I wish this album was like their first one, and like I wish this album was like their second one, or I only like the first two. And like I really like, I don't know if I've ever seen that with you guys, where it's like I feel like everybody is so fucking pumped when a new Black Dahlia album comes out, and you guys have been so fucking consistent too, which is like so, again, just one of those things that's just like unheard of. And it's another one of those things that I feel like, and anyway, I can speak for our camp, that it's like, okay, do we want to do like Black Dahlia does and put an album out every 2 years? Like, are we going to do that? Are we going to like pump it out and like be consistent and like do that stuff? Like, what's the right way to do it? And for us, I can think of 20 conversations of like, what would Black Dahlia do? And and it was even to when, we got signed, when we first got signed with Metal Blade Records, where we put out those first two albums, and we were just like, fuck yes, this is where we start. This is, we can follow in those footsteps of the Black Dahlia and the Cannibal and Behemoth and stuff. And remember, watching your guys' DVD on tour, and just thinking like, holy fuck, these guys are raging party animals. Like, I don't know, like, like, can we keep up? Am I naked enough? I don't know what's happening. Like, I feel like I should be more naked when I'm out on tour.
Honestly, I think that that really set a bar for us as a party band, and you have to realize that Majesty was filmed during the big Nocturnal tour, with us at the top of the bill at a Summer Slaughter. And that was like the biggest thing that had ever happened to us at the time. It was, we were in a bus on a legit tour. We were playing above like a lot of my heroes and like bands that I like grew up listening to, Cryptopsy, Cataclysm, and Aborted, Psychroptic, and
so crazy.
It worked. People were stoked, and it was an amazing time, and you could see how fucking excited we all were and how happy we were.
Yeah.
And definitely a lot of partying came with it.
But deservedly, like that's what comes with it when you're doing what you're doing, and like you said, celebrating with your brothers, like the accomplishments,
Yeah, that's, it feels like that's what we're still doing. We as many people as we've had through the band, there's always this end goal of getting another friend into the band, getting some gonna really fit with us as a personality, as like, the kind of outward personality we exude as a whole. And then also, somebody that's going to be good to the fans. We've always tried to be like very hands-on with the fans and kind of break down that fourth wall. And, we've always just like, having the chops is not everything, man. You know what I mean? There's a ton of that could play good enough to be in Black Dahlia Murder, but you got to be a good person. You got to work really hard. You got to like be ready to sacrifice, basically your entire life, man. Like if you're in this band, there's no saying no. We didn't say no from when the band got signed until Corona. We were forced to relent.
Yeah.
But in a way, like I'm realizing that I needed some time off. I needed to kind of decompress and re-energize, and I know that we weren't ever going to stop. That like we have too much pride to like just like stop ourselves. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, you need an outside force to kind of like.
Yeah. As long as the outside force is stopping every other band,
right?
Too, I'm cool. You know what I mean? Like I'll take a breather for a second, and honestly, like getting caught where we did with a record right about to come out, it created a lot of fear at first.
Yeah.
And, there was some trepidation about it, definitely. But it was already in motion. So it was already like we couldn't stop it. You know what I mean? And decided to ride it out. You know, we already had stuff in production, and you know, things were being pressed, and we just had to ride it out. And it turned out to be a blessing in disguise, honestly. Like when the album hit, the lane was so clear. There was barely any records coming out. And like right now, the speed of life is like 0, dude. Yeah. So, you know, if you're going to be stuck for who knows how long without any content to put out, you know, you might as well have an entire record and all the bells and whistles that kind of come with that. So, you know, it was a great time to be doing press, like we were talking about earlier. Yeah. Just everybody stuck at home. So everybody with a fucking zine in the entire world was popping out of the woodwork. You know, I was doing 10 interviews a day for a while there.
God damn.
Really maximizing it and just bulldozing it, you know? And so in a way, like, I don't know, it was like the perfect storm of press, you know, and the lane was cleared because, you know, not many records are coming out right at the second. And just felt like extra eyes were on us, you know what I mean? And it felt good to give people music in this time, to give somebody, you know, some kind of relief and give people something to be positive about.
Yeah.
And, you know, it just all that mania around it just kept my brain occupied and kept me like thinking about something positive during this entire, you know, thing, which has been, you know, very depressing. But
yeah.
So, you know, I'm thankful for the way it's played out. You know, we definitely took a hit by not being on tour the first week. You know, we weren't able to like get those extra sales from squeezing them out of like Testament's fans or whatever, or like, you know, being at the merch table and being able to make sad puppy dog eyes at people to like buy the album. You know? And also the foot traffic to record stores was shut down, so that was a big hit. But in a way, like the kind of playing field was leveled because every other artist felt the same exact strain, you know what I mean? Yeah. And so we were still able to chart, you know, and you know, charting's not everything. To me, it's
you outsold The Weeknd.
Yeah, that's crazy as fuck. You know, it's crazy that we have enough people behind us and enough excitement behind us where we can make that kind of ripple within the real world of music, you know, as an underground band, you know. So yeah, so like it's so far it seems like in spite of these hurdles that the record is still doing exactly what we wanted it to do. And you know, it's got people thinking about us right now while we're unable to like be physically present, you know, which I'm thankful for. So ultimately, where I was once very skeptical, you know, I think that this kind of played out to be pretty good situation for us.
Yeah, I agree. I think you nailed it as far as like, you know, you had the right, you know, it was the right time to have the eyes on you. It was kind of early in this as well, where folks were like, you know, what's going to happen. And, you know, it gave people something to kind of latch onto. It was fairly like relevant with the title and kind of the theme as well. It was pretty relevant to what was going on. And yeah, I think I'm super stoked on, you know, just to seeing as well, like how well it did and what that means for metal, you know, even with not being able to tour on a record. And so we've got Trevor Leahy on Twitch says, that's exactly what it was for me. I literally love Black Dahlia albums. It's amazing to have a band realize that fans need music, especially in this time. So
that's cool, man. You know, that's kind of how I'm looking at it. You know, I turn to music a lot in times of strife. You know, I think we all do.
Yeah.
And just to be able to like, you know, give people something to be excited about and distract them from like the, you know, what's going on outside. You know, it's definitely felt good.
For sure. And so we can definitely get into Verminous now, since we're already kind of dipping our toes in the water. So yeah, so my favorite track probably hands down is Sunless Empire, which I feel like was kind of a little bit of a deep cut on that one. I didn't see too many you know, people super hyped on that song, but that's the one that's been getting like the most replay for me. Like it's so fucking catchy, and like I love how melodic, and I'm obviously a huge fan of Brandon's playing, and it's got one of my favorite solos from the album on there. Do you have like some favorite tracks, or like, you know, kind of ones that you enjoy more than some of the others?
I definitely like Sunless Empire. I have been seeing a lot of attention for that song, actually.
Oh, maybe.
And solo wise, like that's my favorite solo from Brandon so far. I think that just has everything that he can do kind of in one solo, and it's very emotive and it takes you on kind of a wild ride.
Exactly.
Me, Removal of the Oaken Stake is my favorite right now. It's a little bit different from us, kind of being a mid-pace song.
Yeah.
And, we got some close hi-hat shit going on, which is pretty fucking wild for Black Dahlia Murder.
Yep.
Yeah, but like when you hear it, I think it's really recognizable as a Black Dahlia song. It has that neoclassical kind of vibe to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the kind of melancholic aspect of it. And those are some of my favorite moments on the record, really. Like Sunless Empire has some of that melancholy to it. As we've gotten older, it's less about being as fast as humanly possible or as tech as possible,
yep.
and more about just trying to emote with the music and trying to like grab people by the heartstrings and make music that's like more three-dimensional, and really pay attention to the dynamics, like I feel like, with Brandon coming in, he energized the band and definitely like gave us a really great shot in the arm as far as creativity. And, we began to see what he was capable of with Nightbringers.
Yep.
But, this record, we gave him more freedom and he spread his wings even more. And I think that, we've learned a lot from him, all of us, different approaches in songwriting and different ways of looking at music. And, he's just really inspiring and really educated and really wise beyond his years, so to get somebody in the band that can bring so much and, we're able to trust him and just kind of like let him do his thing, like brought us all up with him, you know what I mean? So it was just an amazing acquisition to get him in the band. And, Nightbringers felt like the dawn of a new era for that reason, and I that we got so much confidence from the success of Nightbringers that we were able to be even more creative with this one and take a little bit more risks and kind of, we've really been striving for having the most variety possible in a record.
Yeah.
Like between song pacing and we're starting to play with different time signatures, and there's a lot of groove on the record, which is relatively new for us. We're usually pretty stiff as a band, but Alan and Brandon are just groove masters, dude. So that's very, very cool aspect of that we've really ramped up with this record. And I just think that everybody just kind of felt that creative spark and has felt kind of liberated in a way to just reach and do something new. And there's still that goal of being recognized as Black Dahlia Murder from the get-go. There's still that like straddling of what we've done in the past, and I don't want to abandon like all we've done in the past. I'm very proud of what we've done, and I'm proud of having stayed the course as much as we have, because you're looking to bands like Cannibal Corpse as our kind of model of what to do. And, we had seen them survive the comings and goings of kind of heavy metal's popularity. They went through a very dark period that, like the end of the 90s, you know what I mean? Like, I think that metal was kind of in it wasn't as popular, you know what I mean? Extreme metal was kind of in a lull. You had record labels like Earache that were trying to sell like Jenkos and just weird shit with
kind of a weird metal and hip hop and all that stuff was kind of coming too.
Yeah. And so, like we saw how Cannibal was able to just persevere through the ups and downs of metal's popularity, and kind of like, we had the same hopes for us that we'd be able to like build something that would last and, that people would want to have around, and, that people would want to stick by us. So, it feels good to have so many albums now. And, I don't think there's anybody out there that has like fear that we're going to like take a weird left turn and have like a clean stick or, whatever. I think that people know by now that we can be depended on, and that feels good.
Avant-garde jazz fusion record for the next one, man. Just fucking do it.
We're inching towards it.
Yeah. No, so we're getting some comments. I love the black and proggy elements on the album. So yeah, just what we were saying. I love the bouncing riff in Sunless Empire, and the solo is bonkers. And one other guy saying the same thing. Removal of the oaken stake was tight as fuck. So he was on board with you as well.
Excellent.
So I had I talked a little bit about before we jumped on, but a big question that I've been getting from watchers of the show that they wanted to ask you was, what your process is like for writing lyrics for a record, and like kind of how you put together themes, and what some of your influences have kind of been over the years.
Sure. I basically have been approaching writing lyrics like this exact same way this entire time. I still get in front of the computer with the word processor. I'll listen to the song like 3,000 times and kind of like vibe out to it, and just try to like be observant of what kind of feelings that it like emotes, and I will start to like formulate a theme from that. And it's my goal to make every moment of the lyrics like basically ride with the ups and downs of the song. So where the song is going to climax musically, I want the climax of the lyrics to be right there with it. So it makes it difficult to kind of write within those constraints, like tough. Within a full 3 to 4 minute song, to have an entire story to tell with the beginning, middle, and end, but also have the climax be right on time, synced up with the music. And, it's a lot of trial and error. It's a lot of, experimentation. In recent years, I've realized I find it very handy to kind of like baby talk some of the patterns out before I actually like commit to lyrics to them.
Yeah.
So I'll be listening to, the new song through my stereo or whatever, my computer, and I will listen to it a zillion times, and I will, just make up some patterns on the fly, just whatever like feels good, whatever, I think sounds good. And, I'll make a bunch of like scratch recordings like that. And there'll be some lyrics I just say that are just nonsensical or whatever, they all get changed in the end. But, really, I think singing right where it's supposed to be and like putting the lyrics right where they're meant to be is like such an important part. And, the kind of like process of baby talking it through and then writing lyrics to kind of match, my favorite patterns, or like I'll kind of Frankenstein a few of those recordings together.
Yeah.
And, I'll have a decent set of patterns, and that'll be like the kind of starting point for, building a song. But I like to start with the chorus more so in recent years, because, that's like the most important part. And that's kind of like the, that's like where you say your thesis statement, that's like right. Where it's like, that's like the end game is to like make that moment powerful. And then the rest of the song is kind of like built around making that point come across. You know what I mean? And if you can nail like a catchy chorus that's like, fuck yeah, and get you happy about it,
yep.
Then the rest will kind of fall into place after that, But it's definitely hard to when you're starting out with an album, because like I never have like a plan really going into it, you know what I mean, of what I'm going to do thematically. And it can be frustrating at first. The last few records especially, I like kind of I'll like hit a wall like a writer's block kind of initially.
Yep.
Where I'm like, God, fuck, I sang every terrible lyric, I wrote kill people that you could possibly imagine.
Right.
And I wrote that horrible thing, and like, what's left, man? And you're like, all these eyes are on me, waiting for me. They want to read the lyrics, and like it's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
Honestly, but then you can kind of flip that around and be like, dude, all these people are waiting to hear what you want to say, Trev. Let's get it going, And when you kind of rip the Band-Aid off and get that first song out, you know what I mean? It's like, it's a big relief. It's a big kind of, it's just like, it's like ripping that Band-Aid off, man, like I wouldn't necessarily call Verminous a concept record as a whole,
Yeah.
But there are some tunes that kind of circle back to the whole, like, we are the underground, we are the underdog, the unwanted creatures that society doesn't want to acknowledge, that they cast aside. kind of, and I chose those smallish creatures that have like a strength in numbers, and I chose those creatures because they've been around forever. They've kind of like, almost as long as the dinosaurs, so evolutionarily those creatures are like kind of perfect, like they can't be killed by normal means, and they're still around, and they're said to like be able to survive after
Nuclear
whatever
Holocaust and shit.
Exactly. Whatever man is going to do to this world eventually, those creepy crawlies are going to be around, so that was kind of the impetus for that.
Yeah, that's awesome, and I think that's super insightful. Like, I've been participating a little bit for the first time in writing lyrics and some patterns and stuff for our new record, and just thinking about it like that, I hadn't even thought about it like starting from a chorus and building kind of around it, or like having lyrics kind of go with the flow of a song. Like, that is 100% foreign to me. I'm like, holy shit, that's a revelation. So
not everybody approaches stuff in the same way. You know what I mean? Like, some people just write lyrics sitting in their bedroom and then kind of force it around the song,
right?
Or I mean, there's a million different ways to do things, but that's just kind of how I do it. And I just there's so many metal lyrics that to me just feel like the bare minimum of effort was put in, and they're just kind of empty sentiments. You know what I mean? And I just felt like it could be so much more powerful if you really took it seriously and painted a picture with it, you know what I mean? And really so I take it seriously. I love to write for the band. It's definitely a challenge, but it's something that I enjoy and I look forward to. And, when I was in school, writing was kind of my strong suit. I never liked school, but English was kind of where I just came natural to me.
Yeah.
And, I hated Shakespeare. I hated all the shit I was supposed to read and forced to read. And now, like, I hear Shakespeare in what I write, like the way that I speak, and kind of with an olden kind of approach. And it's very Shakespearean, and I think that kind of like really left a mark on me. So I'm thankful that was shoved down my throat in such a way. And I never thought that I would turn around and really apply it to like something I enjoy so much, but definitely took some influence from that. Danny Filth is definitely an influence, with that whole like nursery rhymey kind of approach, and having songs that are very lyrically dense, that have a ton of fucking lyrics, and telling that kind of story. And like tonally too, it's pretty obvious that Danny Filth is a influence for me. Jeff Walker and Bill Steer from Carcass, the kind of duo, like back in Necroticism, and they kind of brought it back for Surgical Steel, where they have that like high-low vocal interplay.
Yeah.
Where they'll go back and forth, or they'll layer both at the same time. And just, I remember hearing Carcass like with the Tools of the Trade EP, and they just terrified me, like Death Metal Band had, because their lyrics and themes and graphics were all steeped in reality. Like it wasn't like this fantastic story about a zombie waking up one day and taking over.
Right.
But it was like, all this surgery shit and embalming, and like it was scary. It was scarier than the other shit out there. So like I just liked that vocal approach, and I heard Deicide and the kind of like high-low layering that they always did with the Deicide tracks, and that just like had a huge mark on me, and I wanted to, like the very first demo, I set out to kind of do that, but my high and my low voice weren't that far apart really yet. You know what I mean? Like I was getting my footing. But another big influence is Ben from Goat Horror and Soylent Green. He when we were recording the Black Dahlia Murder demo in 2001, after a day of tracking, we went to see Immolation and Goat Horror in Detroit. And seeing Goat Horror live, just the way that he kind of commanded the stage, and his stance, and his like the way that he like spoke with his hands, and like that just like ignited this like, it was a huge awakening for me of like what I wanted to do on stage, and what I was, it like gave me like a like, I don't know, just like I was like, yes, I was like, you got to be the villain, you know what I mean? So like like I try to embody that the characters that I'm singing about, and there's a certain kind of catharsis and release with like singing about these like masked killers and kind of looking through their eyes, and you know what I mean.
Right.
Like where I lack power in my life, like those moments being on stage and kind of embodying that villain character, like that's like a source of power for me. It's definitely a powerful feeling.
Yeah, that's awesome. We played some shows with Goat Horror, and it was like 6 or 7 years ago now, and yeah, it was just awesome seeing Ben on stage like that, and really just like that his whole approach to being a frontman was, I could see how it permeated into a lot of the scene, into a lot of bands, and he maybe doesn't get as much credit as maybe he should for some of that stuff.
For sure. He I've made no bones about it, dude. We've toured with them so many times, and they were very cool to us when we were a young band, and extended their hand to us and took us out on some trips. And I learned a lot from Ben. And aside from how he is on stage, he's like the most positive person I've ever fucking met.
Yeah.
He's been through a lot of shit. He was in 2 accidents that like, one of which like fucked up his legs, and he had to get all that surgery.
Yeah.
He had like a graft of skin from his stomach is on his heel.
Whoa. I didn't know
like
that.
grows like weird little stomach hair on his heel and shit.
Holy
and
shit.
like he recorded the second Goat Horror like while he was in a wheelchair.
Wow.
Like, and his legs were in these big boosts to kind of like help his bones get reconstructed and shit. And like, you cannot fucking stop that guy. You know what I mean?
What
like he's just, yeah, dude, he's just a lifer, man. And he's, I found a lot of inspiration from him. And I entirely agree that Ben doesn't get enough credit for what he does.
Yeah, Ben's a man. And just, going back to your lyrics, it's definitely, one of my favorite parts of the band. And, again, something that was really influential on us early on is, just like you were saying, like painting that picture and really putting an effort into the lyrics. And, for me as a listener, and like, I always say it, and it's great to see, just even not even hear you say it, but just see it, that you're like pretty much like a fan first. Like it's awesome to see just like how about it you are. And it's just a bummer, like when you're so stoked on a vocal part, like it sounds sick, the pattern's cool, and you go to read the lyrics and it's fucking something lame, and you're like, oh, the part doesn't hit me as hard as it did before I made something up in my head on what I thought he was saying, but with your songs, I can hear and see a story, and there's just so much detail, and I don't get that feeling. I don't get that like, oh, I'm bummed, like this pattern's sick, but like the vocals or the lyrics were not, there wasn't effort. And it's like you said too, it's like, it's so easy not to put the effort into it, and to just like, oh, we'll just say whatever and talk about, killing and death and murder and bodies and whatever, and we'll get by because nobody reads the lyrics anyway, But I feel like even more and more, like with the kind of music that we play, it's like it's got to be treated as its own instrument, and every part of it, from the the tones and the patterns all the way to the lyrics.
Oh, for sure, man. That's exactly the way I look at it. I just see how excited that people can get from my contribution. You know what I mean? Like if I take it seriously and like try to like create something with it and trying to transport them somewhere else, or to some kind of, just get a weird glimpse at a horrifying world for 3.5 minutes. You know what I mean? Yeah. And like, I think that's like largely the appeal of horror in the first place, is to safely witness something like that, like to kind of look over the shoulder of Jason, you know what I mean?
Yeah, not
like
be there, not be any part of it, and not like have that feeling that you're there, but just to kind of be there and be a little bit immersed into it in a safe way.
Right, it's like the same appeal that people have with going to a haunted house or something. Right. They know they're going to get the shit scared out of them. It's all in good fun. It's all in I think that by and large, the death metal scene is a very positive scene. You know, when you go to a show, it's just a bunch of nerds, man. It's the meeting of a bunch of nerds, basically.
Yep.
And you know, like you know, there's people out there that probably imagine death metal shows as like a human sacrifice. You know,
Right.
what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. A lot of our parents that are, whoever's listening, watching, I'm sure a lot of our parents are feeling that way.
You know, I think that we have it easier now than if we were coming out in the 80s and 90s. You know what I mean? As far
Yeah.
as that all goes, I think the internet coming to rise has really desensitized society to a lot of violence and a lot of, you know, obscenity and a lot of
That's a good point.
sex. And you know, the world is a different place than it was in 1992 when Butchered at Birth is on the shelves and like
Yeah.
scaring people to half to death. You know what I mean? Like
Yep.
now, I think the average kid sees shit porn by the time he's 7. You know what I mean? So like, it's a vastly different world than you know, like the ability to shock people now is it's a lot tougher of a landscape to, you know, to do that kind of thing. And you know, like when I was looking for the perfect band name for this band, you know, I was thinking like, what is going to scare people that like don't get scared? You know, like what is going to scare
Yeah.
people that like surround themselves in the macabre all the time?
Yep.
You know, and it was just like the weight of the crime, the weight of the circumstances surrounding it, and all the kind of weirdness surrounding it, and
Yeah.
how it's like, in a way, it's like symbolic of the death of the American dream. You know,
Mhm.
like you have this young actress that comes to California with stars in her eyes, and she's cruelly cut down and just like made an example of, like left in the street to be seen by everybody. And it just kind of, you know, signified the darkening of times in America. And like all of a sudden people were like, whoa, you know, like they were all on this white picket fence shit before that, you know,
Yep.
but that was kind of like a rude awakening, you know. So just the crime itself just had so much power, you know, beyond the grisliness of the violence itself, you know, like it's just something that's really ingrained in American history, especially. You know, I think it has a really like a more potent connotation here in America, where the crime is more known about, you know.
For sure.
And you know, it deals with corruption with police, and you know, like there's just so many like aspects to the story there that are just like so, you know, like I understand why people are still obsessed with the case. You know, I understand why there's still private dicks out there trying to dig shit up, and you know, it seems like it's never going to end, you know. So when I learned about that, I was like, wow, this is the kind of power that I want from a band, you know, a band name. And
Yeah.
this is the kind, it scared me, you know, and like I was already, you know, several years ingrained in the blood and guts of death metal at that point, you know. So I was like, wow, this is definitely it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think solid choice, I'd say. Pretty solid choice there.
No, it's definitely a victim of the band names that start with the era. You know, that was
yeah.
at the time. You had the Red Chord, you know,
Right.
Dillinger's Plan, and like that was the cool thing to kind of have like this crime, you know what I mean, or like
Yeah.
you know, like some sort of historical happening that you'd like, you know, equate yourself with, and we definitely, you know, luckily we survived, and you know, the band is still around even though we have the name.
Have you guys, I'm just thinking about like we played Summer Slaughter like 5 years ago. We were doing some regional dates, and it was I think it was, I don't know if it was BT Bam headlining. It may have been BT Bam Cannibal, but it was Cattle Decap and Thy Art is Murder played, and we were playing the Orlando date, which is on like Disney property. It was a House of Blues Orlando, and Cattle and Thy Art could not play because they didn't want to have like that name on the flyers like being promoted throughout Disney. Did you guys like ever like have any of that happen with like the murder in the name?
No, we got lucky because it seemed like they there was a bunch of different instances where the same exact House of Blues in Orlando like would, you know, randomly pick one of the bands on the bill and be like, you're the scapegoat this time.
No, fuck.
Like, words. Yeah.
Well, that's
Yeah,
good because yeah, I was just thinking that like and it's just like a band like Cannibal Corpse or like Dying Fetus, like just seeing bands with those names still be able to like live through a whole career and those names not be like to their detriment,
right, right. Oh man, like being a Dying Fetus would definitely come with some cringy moments, where
Yeah.
people gotta ask you what your band name is, and I would just be like, I'll just make something up, man.
Right? Yeah, seriously. But then you can show them pictures like we toured with them back in 2013, and I saw easily 5 pregnant women on the tour, like at shows. I was like, you see,
You know,
they get it.
right? I think like when you're in the scene, you're just kind of like desensitized to that whole
Yeah,
aspect of things. Like it's really par for the course, you know.
for sure.
And like when I say Dying Fetus, I don't even think about what it is anymore.
Exactly. It's just banned. You
Like
just
it's just ingrained in my mind.
yep. So I think the theme of Verminous is kind of a good segue into my next question for you. So you talked about how like metal and the creatures of the underground, how we've been the disenfranchised creatures of the underground and kind of outcast from society and things like that. So it's been awesome to see the band recently take a stand with Black Lives Matter and just like the injustices that obviously have been happening in this country for a long time and have kind of come to a boiling point recently with the murder of George Floyd. What's it been like kind of stepping up and being a voice and then I don't know, for me anyway, and I guess it's maybe just like my personal points of view or like my personal opinions and stuff, but it's like it's just like you said, like we in metal are the disenfranchised, the outcasts. Like how can people that are a part of this scene and in music not see that for someone else?
Right.
And like suddenly are like the bootlickers. I just like it's so hard for me to understand.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. It definitely feels good to speak out about it, and but it has come with a lot of backlash, as you can probably imagine. There's a lot of people have been very heated about it. I'm dealing with racist guys popping up left and right on all different facets of our social media, But in a way, I think it's good. We're just kind of weeding out the thorns, and I don't want these kind of fans. I don't want to. And like we've been pretty quiet about our political stance, throughout the career of the band. But it's just kind of like I felt like my back was to a wall, and it's just time to like say something and to not just be silent, and there's been a lot of people that have been very thankful for us like speaking up, and I think that we have so much power as being role models to people maybe, or influence. We have influence over people, so
For sure.
it's really it feels like the very minimum I can do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To like do the right thing and to so. But yeah, it's definitely it's been depressing to kind of have to clean up our social media all the time. And like I'm the guy that like there's different ways you can run your social media, but I'm the guy that doesn't give any racist people a fucking inch. You know what I mean? Like I don't like comments like that to be seen.
Nope.
I don't like to give any airtime. There's some people I think would kind of like sit back and just wait for other people to kind of get in a fight with them and refute it or whatever.
Yeah.
But
fuck that.
Yeah, fuck that. I mean, it's like these social media outlets are like to promote our band, to promote our life's work. You know what I mean? And I'm not going to like have some racist bullshit getting airtime with my name attached to it. Like it's just not going to happen, And I think that, I don't know, people need guidance. They need to see people like me in the scene speaking out, you know what I mean? It's important. I think it's important to start that conversation,
Yeah. 100%. Use your voice for good. And I think we're at a point now where, silence almost makes you complicit, right? Like, you've got to speak up. You've got to, do what you can. And, I've been following closely the metal versus racism that you guys have been doing, which is fucking awesome. And a lot of the, other merch initiatives and everything you've been doing. If you want to speak on that a little bit and maybe on the metal versus racism and how that came about.
Metal versus racism was actually put together by the guys in the band Necrot.
Okay.
They reached out to me to get a possible quote, and they kind of put their feelers out and, reached out to a lot of different bands from different walks of the underground.
That's awesome.
And, so like I submitted a clip. It hasn't been put in a compilation yet, but it will be. But, it's just been a good thing to be a part of. It's showing unity between all bands, new and old, and, saying fuck racism. And, we don't accept that kind of bullshit in our scene. And, I just think that there's so many impressionable people out there that need to hear that from people they look up to. You know what I mean? And they got Chris Reifert from Autopsy. Like, he's literally my fucking hero.
That's
you know
amazing.
what I mean? So that's cool, but
yeah.
Like, I got to hand it to those Necrot guys for working so hard at this. And, like, every band that's posting that stuff is being met with backlash.
Yep.
To degree. And, there's some, unpleasant conversations that have to happen sometimes. And, that's just part of it, dude. But
rip the
largely
Band-Aid off, man.
Yeah, largely what I'm seeing is that most of the fans are on the same page, and I'm very thankful for that. But, I have seen a lot of shit that's disgusted me in the last, since we started posting about Black Lives Matter. And, so I'm trying to keep my head above this entirely negative world that we're living in right now. And, so I kind of stepped back from Twitch for a while because it felt like, I didn't want to crowd the lane for like a more important message. You know what I mean? Like, right. I wanted to kind of like, and it just, it didn't feel like, it felt kind of tone deaf to just be like, hey, I'm just going to go have fun and make some money, have fun,
For sure.
Like, I definitely plan on coming back to Twitch soon. I'd enjoy it a lot. And, it has been one of the things that kept me sane during this shutdown, being able to communicate with the fans and stuff. But, I just felt like I had to kind of like step aside and, let like the real messages that needed to be put across, like not be, not make it about me, you know what I mean? And, man, just so many people are responding to these BLM posts, and so many people like feel threatened. They come in and they're like, but there is no racism in metal. Like, I've seen so many people say that. Like, wow, like, how can you be so naive or like so like, I don't know, just so self-centered. And
yeah,
it's crazy. Like, you can't allow one black voice to tell their story without having to go hit the comments and like refute it.
Yeah, like, I haven't experienced that. I haven't seen it. Good for you, dude. Like,
yeah, good for you. I think that's the bulk of white people in metal. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I think that need to like shut the fuck up and listen right now. And but yeah, the amount of people that like felt threatened by just seeing one black person on our social media telling their story,
fucking
like
absurd.
It's alarming, dude, and frightening. But I'm just happy to kind of like weed out the thorns, like I remember looking at our follows from after that first week of posting BLM stuff.
Yeah.
And we lost like 1,000 followers on Facebook, and I'm like, fuck you, good riddance,
1,000 out of the million and change that you guys have. I think you're
yeah. Like, that's so little.
Yep.
That inspiring in that way, just on a sheer numbers game. But like I am part of this scene that accepts. I am part of this.
Right. That's a good point.
So yeah, man. It's just I just felt responsible to get involved and fight the good fight and not be silent. And I just see a lot of bands out there that aren't speaking up, and Yeah, it's sad. It's just kind of like they're afraid of losing fans and disrupting, you know. Yeah, I don't feel like they're racist necessarily for not getting involved, but
No,
I think
but
that there's a fear, of splitting their fans or losing fans, and I think it's just time to sack up, and you know, I don't want your racist dollar, dude.
yeah, keep
I
keep
want
it,
you
man.
far. I want you far from me, and I want you far from my art. And this scene is about acceptance and about, like we said earlier, about the underdog. So
Yeah, yeah.
it's time to shut up and listen, and it's time to be accepting. It's time to examine yourself, and yeah, I hope that this is like the beginning of change for the better for all of us.
Yeah, yeah, I agree, and I'd say in more ways than one too. I think this in particular. I think a lot of the like sexual assault allegations that are coming out. It's like, dude, what we get, the opportunity that we have to do what we love and to do it the way that we do it is so special. Like, I don't know, man. Like, if you're one of these like racist, sexually assaulting motherfuckers, like you don't deserve this shit. You don't. So I think
For
like
sure. I like I don't like to see that there's all these predators getting outed, but I like to see that there's consequences to their actions. You know what
right.
I mean? Like this gift that we've all been given to be in a real band, and like, is not to be taken lightly, man. So if you're using your platform to like, be a total creep and rape chicks, and it's like, wow, man, fucking gross. So
Yeah, man.
I'm definitely for every voice having a say right now, and I like that. I don't know, just like but I feels like walls are coming down, and aware, like people are becoming more aware about injustice that's happened on all around us at all times, and
Yeah.
it's important, dude. We need something new. We need new government. We need new policing. We need, like we have so much stake in like this archaic thing written by a bunch of white dudes. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yep.
Like fuck, man.
Who like still had slaves and shit. It's like, come on.
Exactly. So it's time to kind of just like really awaken to, that we need change. We need something new. We need, like everything that we have is just like is driven by money and selfishness, and
Yep.
it's just fucking unfortunate, man. So I'm hoping that this is just the beginning of something, beginning of a realization that we really need to like rebuild things from the bottom up, pretty much. But yeah, I don't know what's to come next, man. I really don't. Like this virus is definitely disheartening to see that
Yeah.
it's kind of steam again, and you know fuck, man, I just want to get back out and play shows, man.
I
So
know, dude. I
put on
know.
your fucking mask, dude. Put on your fucking mask.
You heard the man. I'm gonna cut this little tiny clip and I'm just gonna splatter it everywhere. Trevor says, "Wear your fucking mask."
Wear your mask, dude. I want to play shows. I want to see you all again. You're not too cool for a mask.
Yeah, you're
It's not.
not.
It's not like. It's not a big deal, man. It's really not a big deal. If that's all we got to do to like conquer this thing, get back on track, it's like it's not a big fucking deal, dude. Just wear your mask.
It's all good. I feel like the anti-mask people are also like the bootlicker people. So maybe we put a boot on the inside of a mask. You can lick the boot all fucking day as long as you got your fucking mask on. God damn
Yeah, yeah, there you go.
it. Awesome. And then you guys have the a new shirt you guys just dropped, and the proceeds are going to the Equal Justice Initiative, right?
Yes. We had merch printed for the tour, and it was just kind of sitting there. So we thought we'd kind of like purge the boxes that are sitting at a night shift and like do something positive with it, And
Awesome.
So yeah, it's cool, man. So it's the least we can do, man. I like seeing so many bands doing similar kind of approaches, and it's time. It's time to speak up. It's time to be proactive.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. So definitely check out Black Dahlia's Night Shift merch page and support pick up one of those cool shirts. Got some quick movement in the chat before we carry on. So big homie Dan DeFonce is hanging out, and he says the mask ain't gonna kill you. Everyone working their ass off in the hospitals are wearing masks, so we can all wear them too. And yeah, he was kind of just echoing our sentiments in reforming and sacking up, as you so eloquently put it. Word. So I want to talk a little bit too about the Spotify playlist you've been doing for a minute now, which very much hoping to see our new album songs up there in some capacity. It's a personal goal of mine, and perhaps with a song that you may or may not be on. So it's just been awesome and just refreshing to see someone who's been in the game for so long. Like I mentioned before, just still in that fan first mentality, and then also really kind of helping bring up, some of us younger bands. So in doing that playlist, what are some of the bands that you've like discovered, maybe some newer ones that some folks can get put onto?
And I've really been liking the Maggot Stomp label as of late. Pretty much everything they put out is killer. Mortal Wound, Malignant Altar, which is they're from like the ashes of a few awesome Texan bands.
Nice.
Insect Warfare, ex-members of Insect Warfare. What else, man? I found out so many bands. I was kind of already digging for bands all the time before I started like working with Metal Injection. Like it started as I would do the column where I would do like reviews of about 20 to 30 bands every month.
Yeah.
And I liked doing that, but after a while, the workload of writing about 30 bands every month just
it's a lot of shit.
It's a lot of shit. It's a lot of brutal, skull crushing, gut peeling. Like it kind of got really samey and really tiresome after a while. So I kind of like it was a cop out to move it to Spotify because like not every thing I like that comes out makes it to Spotify. You know what I mean? So way that kind of like thins the herd in a way that I don't like, you know what I mean? And it's kind of like, it feels kind of like a cop out to say, yo man, here's a playlist for your streaming service that you pay for. So you buy records, you know what I mean?
That's a good point.
Buy these records, so it's definitely like a cop out for me, but like I said, it was just that tremendous workload of doing the column for so long that really wore me down. But one thing that's liberating about the Spotify playlist is that like it's something I can do all month long. I just kind of like watch social media for people dropping their songs and stuff. And I have a Facebook, but I don't have any friends on it. Like I have to keep it so I can run the band page.
Right.
Because they won't like let you just be the band or whatever, you know what I mean? So I have this blank Facebook, but with it, I follow every fucking band in the world. I follow every label. So awesome. When I want it, I have this like stream of information of what's new, what's happening, and it's all metal, all the time. And Bandcamp is another asset to know what's kind of coming down the pipes.
Yeah.
Blogs too, illegal downloading blogs. I'll look to see what's coming out on them too. They always, there's certain blogs that pretty much touch on everything. So, and, it just comes from a love, dude. Like I buy so much music and I collect music. Right now I'm surrounded by around 4,000 metal CDs in this room here. And, so like I'm buying music all the time, and basically it was just kind of like an awakening. Like, I saw a hole in metal media for all these bands that I liked, I just felt when I was looking at Metal Injection and Metal Sucks and the big sites, like they weren't reporting on my scene. You know what I mean? Like I just see the bands that I liked or cared about being mentioned. So I thought, well, fuck, I'll just do this column and kind of like give a little voice to some of these bands. And, especially brutal death metal, it just didn't have any airtime anywhere from any of these outlets, and behind, in reality, it was the scene for brutal death metal is getting bigger than ever, you know?
Yeah.
So I just felt like, well, you know, I'm going to like just give a voice to all these bands, and it's been cool. You know, it's been good for my soul to like give back to the scene. And, you know, I think it's a good look for our band as a whole to like show people that we aren't these like selfish assholes, but that we do care about the underground that we came from.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's a lot of bands that I think are too selfish to recommend another band publicly, which is kind of shameful. You know, like they're so like uptight. They think that they're going to be giving away their own fans.
Right.
You know,
it's
but
a
in
weird
reality,
thing in metal that it's so like, it is really competitive.
Right. You know, and, but you know, I just have such a pedestal that like, if I can use my voice and like help the scene thrive and like help bands that I care about be seen. And, you know, even on a, you know, when you're a small band like that, dude, like they said that the column would get 10,000 hits.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So 10,000 people looking at a little brutal death metal band, like that's not nothing. You know what I mean?
That's
like
fucking
that,
awesome, dude. You're doing
cool. So
you're doing some great work.
You know, like I don't feel like there's been as much impact with the Spotify version of the list, but you know, my intent is good, and it's just to like make people aware of these bands that are out there. You know, like hopefully if they're not going to buy the record, they'll at least go buy a shirt from the band or go see the band.
Right.
Know?
Exactly.
But yeah, you know, so in a way it's like there's an internal struggle, like, yeah, you know, I'm giving in to the demon that is Spotify.
Yeah.
And you know, where but you know, like I said, it's just been a lot easier to assemble month to month. And
yeah,
you know,
it's the future. And like, you know, I feel like we're at a time where if people want to listen to a song, they're either going to stream it on a streaming thing, they're going to go on YouTube, and then if they like it, maybe they'll buy it, maybe, perhaps, but or if they already like the band and they want to support the band on their first release or on their next release and they like it, obviously then they'll buy it. But if you're finding a band, I feel like when you find the band, there's a few more steps before you're going to buy that band's record than if you're like already a fan and they're putting out music, you know?
For sure. You know, and just like I said, there's just so many young, impressionable people out there getting into metal. And like, if they want to hear what I want to say about it, like that's very flattering. And, you know, I just try to use my voice for good in the scene and, you know, try to lift other bands up. And, you know, we try to do that with the band too, like with who we take on tour.
Yeah.
You know, and, you know, but we try to kind of play the game too. We play with all different kinds of bands,
Yep.
You know, and there's some tours that we assemble that like are way more geared towards my personal preference,
Right.
You know, but then there's some that are more of a compromise to my personal preference, but it's realizing what our fans like. And we have fans from all those different walks, you know what I mean? So we'll go on a tour with a bunch of deathcore bands, and then we'll turn around and tour with Carcass and Gore Guts.
Yeah.
And, you know, kind of everything in between pretty much. And it's just acknowledging that kind of unique place that we have in this, and, you know, trying to make every fan from every walk that likes our band happy, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. It goes back to that whole thing, you know, we were talking about in the beginning, which is like, that's what creates that melting pot is playing to both or, you know, multiple different types of metal fan bases and being able to reach across those, you know, whatever genres, if you will. Awesome. So do you remember the first show that you like ever went to?
Well, my very first concert was when I was in third grade, and it was New Kids on the Block.
Oh man. Oh dude. Yep. So as Trevor, you probably have 4 metal cards and you got to give one of them up, I guess, if you went to see New Kids on the Block.
Yep. I love New Kids on the Block. Me and my sister did. My mom and aunt, my sister to see him. And then my first metal show was Megadeth.
Sick.
Fear Factory, Flotsam and Jetsam, and Korn.
Damn.
And
well, lineup.
It was 95, and Megadeth was headlining, and Korn was main support, and Fear Factory was opening. They had just dropped Demanufacture, which I was like in love with.
Yeah,
and I still love it. But I mean, that was a huge day, dude. Like seeing all those bands, and that was the first time I heard Korn, and I was like, "Yo, this is the shit." So like that. with Korn that lasted a couple of records there. And but then it was like, man, when did I start going to local shows? That wasn't until I was like about 16 or so.
Yeah.
That we kind of like, me and my friends tapped into like a local scene. It was more, it wasn't quite, we had to like drive out to Detroit to kind of be a part of it, you know.
Yep.
We're from Waterford. But yeah, we started going to local shows that revolved around this venue, Pharaohs. And we'd go see the pre-Walls of Jericho band, Earth Mover.
Oh,
like
nice.
they were like the kind of the kings of the scene at the time. And
Yeah.
all the bands would bring from out of town, you know. And yeah, like that was kind of like I loved death metal and shit during that time, but I couldn't figure out where the pulse was. I couldn't figure out if there was a scene per se for death metal in Michigan, you know.
Right.
Like, so when we started to play shows, we were just like, we were on the more metal end of the spectrum for like the bands that we play with, but we were playing hardcore shows, you know.
Yeah.
We were playing with we played with Throwdown, you know, and it was just like a melting pot, like the shows were then in Michigan, you know, like all different walks of music kind of came together. But
Nice.
yeah, it was really like going to those local shows that made me want to be in a band, even more so than like seeing Megadeth on stage, you know. It was just like, all right, so you mean like I can make music and come play this place and hopefully win some people over and like start something here, you know what I mean? Like that was the first glimpse of hope of like being received as a musician, you know. So
that's awesome. What was the first Black Dahlia show like?
Ill attended. We were on a bill with I want to say the band was called the Black Hand. They were pretty cool. Like they were pretty metallic.
Yeah.
They were like it came after this band Ire, like they were the post Ire band, and we used to like Ire a lot. So we were pumped to be on that show. I remember we were very bad the very first show. I used to like really get freaked out up there.
Really?
Like as soon as the show would start, you know, I would go as hard as I could. First of all, like screaming literally bloody murder.
Yeah.
With no technique whatsoever. You know, like you couldn't have told me then that like the vocalists I looked up to actually had like technique and you know, were calm when they were delivering what you saw and like calculated, you know, like so I'd go out there like a fucking cat in a bag that was shaken up and just all right, you know, and I'd go out there, just scream my ass off, roll all over the place, jump off the bass drum, and I would have like the biggest adrenaline rush. And then after that, you know, I was like a flat line up
fucking
there. Just
crash. Oh.
you know, like, so it was definitely a lot to be learned. And, you know, we were very naive at the time. I remember we would talk forever between songs.
Oh, yeah. To give you a chance to like catch your breath.
I guess. And, you know, we just didn't know any better. We were just idiots,
like
you
pacing.
know?
Oh, okay.
Like, in the early days, the first time that the Red Chord came to town, like we had been talking to them, like through MySpace, you know, we kind of became buddies with them.
Yeah.
And like, so when they came to town, we got on the show, and after they played, they were so tight and just so rapid and just so like seamless between songs.
Yeah.
That I was like, I called a meeting at the show for the band. Meet me over by the bathroom, like 5 minutes.
It doesn't have a door to the stall, so we can kind of like all get in here and we're good.
And the conversation was like, "Did you fucking see that? Like we have a lot of work to do, you know."
Yeah.
So that was kind of like the revelation of like how powerful it can be to be like rapid fire with your delivery.
Yep.
And you know, just like take that aspect of things more seriously. And you know, they were a band that had been touring around and kind of cut their teeth touring, and we hadn't done that yet. We were just completely green, you know. And basically up until that point that we recorded on Hollowed, we were a local band.
Right.
We were entirely green, and like you can hear that in the record. Like the technical aspects of that album were difficult for us to achieve at the time.
Yeah.
We were reaching beyond what we were able to play.
Yeah.
By a little bit, and then like, so like when I listened back to it, like it's easy to hear how youthful we were.
Yep.
We were very excited and energetic, but very clumsy. And, like I look back fondly at the record. Like I like the songs, but, just like the performance and stuff, and, leaves a little bit to be desired by the more polished Black Dahlia.
Yeah. But dude, that record still fucking holds up and still gets talked about, and people still lose their shit over. I've seen anyway, whenever you guys have played a song off of that record.
Oh, it's cool. It'll always be my favorite Black Dahlia Murder record.
Yeah.
For that reason, was just like, it was the culmination of all these ideas like coming together of, something that we built with our hands that was, just unfiltered art. It's just made by 5 kids, and just doing what we wanted to do, and kind of taking influence from a bunch of different areas and making them into like this kind of melting pot of sounds, and we felt betrayed really by a lot of bands at the time that we like were so into, Soilwork and In Flames and Dark Tranquility. They all like kind of went toward this new metal, like more commercial aspect,
right?
And we were all like, ugh, gross, yuck. We're like, well, we're gonna do like they used to do, but put some blasts in there too, and just like try to make it the most aggressive take on that we could, and that record has just lived the life that it has, and is still important to people. It's just fucking amazing, and I'm very thankful for that album, and thankful for the door that it opens for us.
Yeah. So Trevor's asking, how it felt on the Unhollowed tour, hearing those songs played tighter.
Oh, it was magic, dude. Honestly, it was kind of like what I'd always wanted for those songs.
Yeah,
just for people to hear them be like deadly right in the pocket, and like I said, we were really reaching to play that stuff in the studio, whereas now it's way more on the simplistic end of our material.
Right,
wow,
right.
that was. I have to talk about that big hand I just did.
You can't not do it, dude.
So to hear those songs like sound like they should, with great players behind them, and it was very satisfying, and it was cool to hear Nocturnal played and all the through too. There was some songs that we had never played live,
so
and
awesome.
those songs kind of like come across and be perfected, I guess, was fun. But we have the problem with putting out so many records and so rapidly is now that we've done the anniversary for Unhollowed and the anniversary for Nocturnal, everybody wants an anniversary for every album of ours.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And like, I don't want to fall into that. It seems like a trap.
Right.
I don't want to be like AC/DC already.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Out our new music and we just rest on our old laurels. I don't want to be like Indians. It's still all about the now, and about where we are now, and about the future, and about making better music. And I feel like we have so much life left in this band and so much further to go, and I feel like we're just hitting a real creative stride now. That is just keep going. And so I see a lot of years to come for this band, a lot of albums, a lot of more of the same. Like by now, this is all I fucking know, dude. Like, I've been going full speed ahead, tunnel visioned on this thing for, next year, it'll be 20 years.
Yeah. Goddamn, dude.
It's amazing. I'm just very thankful to still be here and to still be cared about, and that people, care about my opinion and on what's happening in the scene. And, it's tremendous, So, we're just going to keep going and keep doing what we're doing. And, it's all we know how to do, man. It really is.
Well, it's awesome. It's admirable. It's, I'm stoked to hear you say that, so that we still have a band to look up to, and for many years to come. So last thing I wanted to touch on was the Euro tour that you guys have coming up. So that looks like, if I'm not mistaken, I saw it was in March.
It's January, February.
January,
actually.
February. I get fucked up with the flip dates, but
Yeah, I mean, and we could just be being optimistic. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It could totally crash, and we're prepared for that.
Yeah.
But if we don't book it now, there won't be a tour. Tours
Right.
have to be so far in advance that we're just willing to take that risk. And Europe is on track for reopening before the States.
Yeah.
So it could stand where things are still closed here, but we'll go over to Europe and we'll be able to play. And I don't have any delusions that we'll be playing here in the States before that time. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? But yeah, man, we're just trying to be optimistic. We're hoping for the best.
For sure.
If we have to like dash that tour too, that's just the harsh reality of it. It's not going to be the end of the world. We're just going to book another one when it's time.
Yeah.
And basically, just try to hit the ground running when we can, and push Verminous when we can, and, go out there and celebrate that record when it's time. Hopefully people will be waiting with bated breath to hear the new songs,
Oh,
like
yeah.
they've had but time to sit and listen to it right now. And we're just hoping we can pick up with that momentum that we had when we left off and just get back out there, man, conquering the world.
Yeah, I certainly don't see why not. I wanted to get kind of your take on what you think the future of touring looks like, and that's what I think it is. It's, people are going to be so fucking hungry for shows, and so fucking hungry for, to see the records that came out during the quarantine, to be able to see those songs live. And I think us as musicians are going to have like a newly found vigor, right? Because we've never been at a point where this was just like swept out from under us. Like, no, you literally can't do this. It's not like you don't want to. It's not like, oh, something came up. It's like, no, you cannot do this no matter how bad you want to do it. So I think, and it's refreshing again, for someone like you who's been in it for so long, and I can see that this is our first like real in-depth conversation, but I can see that you're not like one of those jaded guys that I've met who are just like kind of grumbling all the time and just like, you know what I mean? Like, fuck, I've been doing this for so long and this shit's whatever. Like, I think even those guys now are like, fuck, like this could be taken away from me. And even those guys are going to have like a newly found, just being grateful that we get to do this,
Oh, yeah, that's my hope, man. I hope that that the scene will respond with excitement, and like realize what they've been taking for granted.
Yeah.
In all these trains and vans, driving around endangering their lives to bring music to you. And yeah, dude, I'm just hoping it'll bring us together in a way, even bigger and stronger than before. I have, some trepidation about how venues are going to do things in the future, and, it's definitely, I don't know. I'm worried about it. I'm worried about like truncated capacities for venues, and, just different things like that. So there still remains a lot to be seen of how things are going to play out.
For sure.
But, somehow, some way, we're all going to get back out there on tour when the time is right. And hopefully we'll be met with a renewed excitement from everybody,
Yeah, I think so. And I think, or I very much hope anyway, that the music industry is also going to be like tapering its expectations, and like, because it's kind of like how you were saying before that, Verminous came out, but also with what everything else that was going on, it was kind of like brought to a level that like, it did like this because of and so it showed that it did well. But, if like, for a band like mine, for example, that, we drop a record, it does whatever it does. And then next year when we're trying to, get tours, is it going to be like, oh, but the record only did this because they're looking at like our last album, or they're looking at how a record did in a band comparable of our size like 2 years ago. You know what I mean? If there's going to be a big shift in the industry and in like, promoters and booking agents and shit like that, like because of all of this,
Oh, right. Yeah. There's definitely going to have to be some flexibility and some understanding on, you know, we did, like we were saying, we were able to show up on the charts, a lot of it because the playing field was leveled, you know what
Right.
I mean? And, yeah, man, people are just going to have to like take all that into consideration, kind of coming back into, reassembling this touring circuit.
Totally. Awesome, Trevor. Well, thank you so much for fucking coming on, dude. I really appreciate it, man. I love doing this because I've watched a ton of your interviews, and I think maybe we've met like once or twice, super briefly at some of your shows because I always try and get some hang time in with Marsh Money when you guys come to town. Love Marshall. Big shout out to Marshall. But I like being able to give context, where it's not just like a headline. It's not just like on an album cycle, the same guys asking you the same 10 questions and like, it gets kind of redundant and shit like that. So, really appreciate you coming on. Appreciate, again, going in depth with us on, how the band has been maneuvering, delivering an album during, all this crazy shit, has, been maneuvering, the civil rights, injustices that are going on, how you guys have been speaking out about it. So, wish you guys nothing but the best. I really hope that Euro tour, happens and you guys can fucking crush it and finally get back out there. And, hopefully that we can do some stage sharing sometime soon, post corona, and, be fucking awesome. And, yeah, any parting words for your, adoring fans?
Well, I want to say thanks to you, John, for all the kind words, and it's definitely really flattering and inspiring to hear what you said about the band, and to all the kids out there, fucking wear your mask, and I'll see you at a show, man. Hopefully sooner than later.
Awesome. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in to episode 24 of the Big Shred podcast. There probably won't be a Wednesday episode again because we're tracking, but there might be a Saturday episode because I'm supposed to have all my guitar parts turned in by Friday. So thanks for hanging. And Trevor, thank you so much. Everybody take care. Peace.